Give us everything.
Well, I'm just stressed. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the... Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm going to talk about the Migrant Rights Centre, so which you would have passed over there on Parnell Square West. So it's a national organisation that works with migrant workers and their families, and it works to promote justice, equality and empowerment. So it works as a resource centre, so it gives information and advocacy to migrants on their rights and entitlements, but it also kind of works on it works on an individual level, but also works on a collective level with migrant workers, and it's been really successful in securing really significant policy changes, and it's been running for a bit over 10 years, so it's been really successful in getting policy changes like changes to the work permit system, and also extra protection for say, domestic workers. And one really kind of significant policy change they got a few years ago was something called a bridging visa. So a lot of migrants at the time either maybe they lost their job or their employers weren't renewing their visas and not telling them. So through no fault of their own, they were becoming undocumented and being left with no status. So Migrant Rights Centre managed to secure what's known as a bridging visa. So if people were in that situation, they could get the bridging visa. They were able to look to secure more work. So that was a really significant win that's really changed, a lot of people's circumstances. And the organisation itself, it uses a community work approach. So what that means is that it focuses on participation, empowerment and leadership. So it works to ensure that migrants participate in decisions that affect their lives. So it uses a kind of a rights-based approach, and in saying that if there's decisions, if there's structures that impact migrants, then they need to be involved in that process in terms of seeking social change. So if migrants come to the resource centre, with individual cases maybe against their employers or different issues that they're facing, they will kind of always refer them onto like collective spaces like one of the campaigning groups or the action groups, because they see that in terms of people coming together as a group, it moves from their individual needs to looking at the kind of collective, to looking at the structural inequalities that migrants face and working in a collective way to identify what those solutions are and to work to empower them to kind of campaign and advocate to realise those solutions. So that's, and also in terms of participation, they really work so migrants are engaged in kind of decision-making structures, decision-making arenas in terms of policy, giving presentations to the Dáil, advocating in different ways. And yeah, in terms of leadership, one real focus would be in terms of building migrants' leadership skills, and there's some really amazing women migrant leaders that would have come out of some of the different action groups, like the domestic workers action groups. And if you ever get an opportunity, even someone like Miriam Bashi from the domestic workers action group, if you ever get an opportunity to see them speak or in any of the conference or anything to see them speak, they're really amazing. So in terms of the different issues they're working on at the minute, the Domestic Workers Action Group have been working for changes and protection for domestic workers at a national and an international level. So they've managed to secure extra protection at a national level, but they also they engage with trade unions in Ireland, but they also engage at an international level with the International Labour Organisation. And also another issue at the minute would be care work in the care sector, because it's kind of becoming a growing sector in Ireland at the minute, and it's hugely unregulated. And one piece of research they've done recently is on au pairs, and they kind of saw that au pairs were being used as a cheap form of childcare, and people have very little rights. There's hardly any regulation of the sector. So they're working to ensure that migrants working as au pairs are part of the process in forming those regulations, and they're engaging with government at the minute to kind of seek the regulation of the sector. Also another big issue they work on is undocumented migrants. And I have the figure of the amount of undocumented migrants which are going to you. Okay. estimated 30,000 undocumented migrants, including children and families living in Ireland at the minute. So that could be migrants that are undocumented. Again, as I said, before breeding visas were introduced, they could become undocumented through kind of no fault of their own, and they've been left in Ireland with no status. But they've built their life here, they're part of their community, and they have no rights and no status. So they're working for a form of earned regularisation. So similar to what people are kind of advocating for in the United States for Irish people that are living without status there. So people have been living here for a certain amount of years, they're part of Irish society, so they should be able to earn status. So that's something that they've been working on. They've done like solidarity marches and just something to really bring this on the table, because it just hadn't been discussed at all before in terms of policy. And then another successful campaign that they've had was in terms of forced labour. So basically economy-based labour, people working within the home, different sectors, in the restaurant sector, catering, entertainment sector, people, basically working slaves. So in January of this year, Alan Shatter committed to criminalising forced labour, and that's going to come into effect in April. So that was one kind of big win that they've had. So I suppose a lot of the issues that they work on would disproportionately affect women in terms of domestic work and care work. And I think they've really secured like a huge amount of changes in policy. But I think the key to their success is using that community work approach and ensuring that the people that are leading any of these campaigns, that are coming up with solutions, are the people that are affected themselves, and working in that collective process and building people's skills, making people feel empowered so they can take on those leadership roles. That's one of their key strengths. So you can find out more about the organisation on mrci.ie, and so they're constantly doing fundraising events, and there's lots of different campaigns that you can support and get involved in. So I recommend go look it up to find out more information.